It was just past midnight when Logan heard the crash outside his mountain cabin. Another trash raid, he figured. Bears were common up here. Annoying, sure, but expected. Still, something about the silence afterward unnerved him. No rustling. No heavy breathing. No growling. Just quiet. When he stepped outside with a flashlight, he saw the bin overturned, its contents scattered. But the bear wasn't rummaging anymore. It stood completely still, staring down at something lying in the snow. As Logan stepped closer, he saw what had stopped the beast cold. It wasn't food. It was a blanket, and inside it, something small. Something human. A baby. Wrapped tightly, shivering, left inside the garbage like nothing more than a mistake. The bear didn't move. And that's when Logan realized. This wasn't just a wild encounter. It was a moment that would change everything. Logan Walker wasn't afraid of bears. Living alone in a cabin deep in the Montana woods, he'd seen plenty. Even learned to respect them, to let them pass, never feed them, and always secure the trash. But that night felt different. It was just after midnight when the sound came, a thunderous crash, followed by the hollow clatter of plastic. Logan shot up from his creaky recliner, knocking over a half-empty mug of coffee as he reached for his flashlight and boots. Outside, the air was crisp. Cold enough to bite, but still. The forest was eerily quiet, no hoots, no wind. And then he saw it. The large black trash bin was overturned at the base of the gravel path, split open. Debris scattered like confetti, food wrappers, banana peels, tin cans, torn napkins. And standing over it was a bear. It was massive. Easily 600 pounds. Cinnamon-colored fur rippling across its back as it breathed heavily, unmoving. Logan instinctively stepped back behind the porch railing, not out of fear, but caution. But then he noticed something strange. The bear wasn't eating. Wasn't sniffing. It was staring. Still. Silent. Focused. Logan narrowed his eyes and raised his flashlight slightly. That's when he saw it, the crumpled bundle lying among the trash. Small. Wrapped in cloth. Shaking. He squinted. Took one step forward. The bundle moved. Logan's breath caught in his throat. It wasn't a raccoon. It wasn't an animal. It was a baby. A real, human infant. In the snow. In the trash. Left behind like garbage. And the bear, it hadn't harmed it. It hadn't touched it. It had just stood there. As if waiting. Logan's instincts kicked in. He stepped forward, carefully, slowly, making sure not to startle the bear. But the massive creature didn't react, didn't charge, didn't growl. It just watched him. Its dark eyes locked on his every movement. Logan knelt beside the bundle, hands shaking. The cloth was damp. Thin. Meant for indoors, not a cold mountain night. He peeled it back gently and froze. A newborn. Red-faced. Shivering. Eyes barely open. Its tiny fist gripped a thread from the blanket, as if it were the only thing keeping it anchored to this world. "Oh my God," Logan whispered. He immediately took off his flannel shirt and wrapped it around the infant. The baby stirred but didn't cry. And the bear, still watching, gave a low, almost mournful grunt. Then, without another sound, it turned and slowly lumbered back toward the woods. Not once did it look back. Logan stood there, stunned, heart racing. It didn't make sense. Why hadn't the bear attacked? Why had it stood guard instead of fleeing? Did it somehow know what was in the bundle? And the bigger question, who had left a baby out here in a trash bin to die? Inside the cabin, Logan lit the fireplace and turned up the propane heater. He filled a hot water bottle and tucked it gently beside the baby. He didn't have much, canned food, trail mix, old clothes, but it would have to do until he figured out what to do next. He stared down at the baby and whispered, "You weren't supposed to be found, were you?" "But you were. Because a bear found you first." The baby slept through the night, swaddled in layers of makeshift warmth. Logan didn't sleep at all. He paced, stared into the fire, and kept replaying what he'd seen, the way the bear hadn't acted like a bear. The way it had stood watch. Silent. Unmoving. Like it had known the child was helpless, and worth protecting. The next morning, with a storm brewing in the distance, Logan made coffee and finally allowed himself to examine the blanket the child had been wrapped in. That's when he saw it. A tag. Faded. Torn at the edge. But still legible, County Hospital Maternity, Room 308. His breath caught. He pulled out his dusty laptop and connected it to his satellite internet. Spotty, slow, but it worked. After a few minutes of digging, he found the number for the hospital, over 60 miles away. He made the call. Room 308. The nurse on the other end repeated. That room's not in use anymore. Why? Logan asked. Was someone there recently? There was a long pause. Then the nurse said, there was a woman. Teen mother. She gave birth last week. Disappeared from the hospital 2 days ago without discharge. Did she take the baby? According to records, no. We thought she left the child in the nursery. Logan hung up, his chest tight. This baby had been abandoned. But not at the hospital. Someone had brought her out here. To the woods. To die. Except she hadn't. Because a bear had found her. By the 3rd day, Logan had given the baby a name. Hope. Because it felt right. Because that's what she was. A second chance, wrapped in cloth and found beneath the stars. He fed her with improvised bottles, warmed milk, careful drops at a time. He read every baby care guide he could find offline. And somehow, she clung to life. But questions haunted him. Who left her there? And why had the bear, that mysterious gentle beast, been the one to find her? That afternoon, Logan drove into town. He spoke to the sheriff. Told the story, minus the bear, unsure anyone would believe it. To his surprise, the sheriff leaned in and said, "You're not the first to mention that bear. Old trackers saw it a few weeks back, near the same spot. Said it was acting, strange, like it was looking for something." Logan's skin prickled. Had the bear been following whoever abandoned the baby? Back at the cabin that evening, the fire crackled warmly as little Hope slept peacefully. Logan sat nearby, lost in thought, when he heard a sound on the porch. Knock. Knock. He froze. No one ever came this far. He stepped to the door and opened it slowly. And standing there, hair soaked with melted snow, eyes wide and hollow, was a young girl. A teenager. Her voice cracked. "Is she here? Is the baby okay?" Logan stared at the girl. She couldn't have been more than 16. Her clothes were soaked, her face pale, her hands trembling. But her eyes, those wide guilt-stricken eyes, were locked on the blanket-wrapped bundle sleeping by the fire. "She's alive," she whispered, stepping forward. Logan didn't answer at first. He simply moved aside and let her in. The girl dropped to her knees beside the baby and broke into quiet sobs. She stroked Hope's tiny hand like someone who had been haunted by the memory of losing it. I didn't know what else to do," she gasped. "I was scared. My parents didn't want her. They said I'd ruined everything." She looked up at Logan with a desperation that only comes from regret. "I left her near the road. I thought someone would find her. I swear I didn't mean to leave her in the trash. I didn't know a bear would." She stopped. Her breath caught. "You saw the bear too, didn't you?" Logan sat across from her, silent for a long moment. "Yes," he said quietly. "The bear didn't hurt her. It protected her. It waited until I found her. Then it left." The girl's lips trembled. "I saw it once before, after I gave birth. It was in the woods outside the hospital. It didn't scare me. I thought maybe I imagined it. But now I think." She trailed off, then whispered, maybe it was watching her, this whole time. The next morning, Logan drove her and Hope back to the sheriff's office. She turned herself in, not out of fear, but to make things right. She agreed to counseling, to rebuilding her life. And as for Hope, she was placed in care. But Logan visited every week. And eventually, when the process allowed it, he adopted her. Not because he had planned to, but because the forest had chosen him. Because a bear had knocked over his trash. And given him a daughter. Epilogue: The Watcher in the Trees. Years passed. Hope grew into a strong, curious, fearless girl. And every year on the night of her found day, Logan and Hope returned to the old cabin to light a fire and share a story. The story of a bear. Of a child. Of a life that almost ended, but didn't. And every year, without fail, just beyond the treeline, a familiar shape would appear in the dusk. A massive bear. Still watching. Still protecting. Still remembering the baby it never let the world throw away.